Oh, it's horse beef, man. And I'm bringing you my UFC 310 predictions. I'm going to be going through the whole card. This is a very underrated card. Underrated bangers across the entirety of the card. I'm going to break down each and every fight for you guys and give you my picks, predictions, whatever you want to call it, right? But let's get to the card opener. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Lukas Brzezinski. And I'm going with the heavy favorite here. I'm going with Kennedy Nzechukwu. Since he's gone up to heavyweight, I believe he moved up from 205. Like right, last fight I can remember of his at 205 was when he finished Carlos Ulberg, right? And he's good. He's a good fighter. I feel like he doesn't carry a whole lot of power at heavyweight, but he's super long. And he's good at fighting like a long fighter. And I just expect him to pick apart Lukas Brzezinski from Reyes throughout the first round and then TKO him in the second. So that's my prediction there. Let me get Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. Let's expand this, dude. Yes, let's expand that. Clay Guida has more than 3 times the experience that Chase Hooper does. And he's almost double his age. It's pretty crazy. Old man Clay Guida, and I almost want to pick him because I'm such a fan of his. I remember watching him like since the beginning of his UFC career, dude. This man was an animal, just a complete marauder, cardio machine, very similar to like a Frankie Edgar, for example, but with worse stand-up. But just a great wrestler, although I see Chase Hooper with the improvements that he's made recently to the stand-up and really his overall game, the size advantage that he'll have. He's very long, and I expect him to tie up Clay Guida. He should have a major jiu-jitsu advantage, but Clay Guida is a crafty wrestler. He really is. So would it surprise me if he just grinds out Chase Hooper and stops the hype train yet again? Maybe not, but I am picking Chase Hooper here. I am picking, once again, the heavy favorite. I expect him to get it done. You know what, man? I'm going to have some respect for Clay Guida. I think he'll survive this, but I am going to pick Chase Hooper by decision. I think he'll maybe even drop him on the feet as well and just show overall supremacy over Clay Guida. I think so. The age of Clay Guida will catch up to him in this one. Not that it hasn't caught up to him already. But yeah, dude. But just by visuals alone, you would expect a man like Clay Guida to make easy work of Chase Hooper. But Chase, to his credit, man, he's made massive strides recently in improving his overall game. Fucking Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. I don't rate Chiesa at all. I'm sure that he is the logical pick here. I'm actually surprised to see that he's the underdog here, just considering that he's the younger man and he's a massive welterweight. He just has no fight in him, right? He has no fight. I say it, I'll say it later on when I'm predicting one of the main card fights here as well. Jiu-jitsu is the worst base for MMA. Let me get that clear to you guys. Jiu-jitsu is the worst base for MMA that there is. I consider having a street fighting background to be a more beneficial base for MMA than Jiu-jitsu because Jiu-jitsu does not create tough people. Wrestling creates tough people, right? Muay Thai creates tough people. Jiu-jitsu creates this false sense of security because you think you're a dangerous man because you can roll for somebody's legs, right? But when you're in there, in the cage with somebody who can sling hammers like Max Griffin, you're in major danger. And I'm going to pick the favorite once again, the surprising favorite. Max Griffin is going to piece up Michael Chiesa. Chiesa has no fight in him. The second that he gets touched on the chin, he starts shelling up and he starts turning and showing weird body language, weird cowardly body language. Now, of course, he's a pro fighter, so not to disrespect him and call him a coward because, of course, he's doing something that I myself am not doing, right? And I get that, but at the same time, he is about as cowardly as a professional fighter can be in there. He has no warrior spirit, right? And I think Max Griffin is going to put hands on him. I think he's going to TKO him in the first round, man. I honestly do. Do not rate Michael Chiesa in the slightest. Then we move on to a banging flyweight fight. Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. Now, this is a tough one to pick, right? This is relatively close to a pick'em. Joshua Van is the favorite here, and I am going to pick Joshua Van after his performance against Chiesa. I love this dude. He is a fucking slugger. Doesn't have a whole lot of power, but he is quite quick with his hands. Comes from Myanmar. And I think he's going to put hands on Durden, but this fight will be very close, right? And when I say I pick Joshua Van, it's like a 51-49 type of pick here. I'm not confident at all in it because I think Cody Durden is quite underrated, but I am going to pick Joshua Van by decision. I think he'll do enough on the feet, put some damage on Cody Durden, and yeah, win by decision, although I think it'll be close. I'm going to predict like a 29-28 scorecard. Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Now, this is a spiteful one. I don't want to see Chris Weidman have any success after what he did to Bruno Silva, so I'm going to pick Eric Anders by brutal first-round KO. And that's purely based off my disdain, my vitriol towards Chris Weidman. He deserves no success in his career going forward. Eric Anders will get it done. Absolutely, he will. Then we move up onto the prelims, man. And these prelims are crazy, to be honest, man. Randy Brown versus Brian Battle. Let's expand this here. Anyone picking Randy Brown, I got to say, you're wild. You are a wild man for picking Randy Brown in this one. Brian Battle is a slugger. The dude is tough as nails, and at welterweight he's looked like a different animal, up the physique a little bit. He does have like that former obese person type of like extra skin build, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately he looks a lot better at welterweight. It's tough, great cardio, not a whole lot of power in his hands, but he's more of a volume striker. And I rate him. I rate him a lot more than Randy Brown. Randy Brown's one of these long strikers who relies on keeping the fight nice and pretty at range. As soon as anyone gets in range, he crumbles. He crumbled against JDM, and I believe Brian Battle will do something very similar, although I don't think that Brian Battle has as much power in his hands as JDM. So I think it'll take more time, but I'm thinking by the third round he'll have, you know what, maybe late second round. I'm going to say your late second round TKO for Brian Battle. He will break Randy Brown down. Mark my words. Randy is not built for a fight like this. Brian Battle is going to put it on him. I think he'll take some big shots, some big straight shots from Randy Brown in the first round. Like maybe even put Brian in some danger. But as the fight goes along, we will see. We will see what Randy Brown's made of. And I think Brian will take him out, as I said, late second round TKO. Then we get into a fight where, everyone seems to be confused about this one. Oh, why is it on the prelims? I mean, listen. I'm really not a fan of Aljamain Sterling. I think he's one of the most overrated, most boring anti-fighters to ever compete in the sport. The fact that he is one of the best bantamweights of all time and he's considered to be so elite is crazy. He has no striking. Like he throws all types of spinning attacks, but there's never any pop on any of his shots. Everything he throws is just window dressing, arm punches through and through. He has nothing to trouble Movsar Evloev with, in my opinion. I think Movsar is just the better version of Sterling, and he actually has some pop. Yes, he's boring. He is more of a smothering grappler, just like Aljamain Sterling. But I think he has a lot more to offer on the feet. He was actually hurting Arnold Allen on multiple occasions in their fight. And Arnold Allen's a pretty tough guy, so that proved to me that at least Movsar has something to offer on the feet. And I think this fight, for the most part, will remain on the feet. And if it does, which I think it will, I believe he'll beat up Sterling. I don't know if he'll finish him, as this is a 3-round fight. It may be tough to finish Sterling in a 3-round fight. But I'm going to pick Movsar by like a clean sweep, 30-27. May even hurt Sterling on the feet. Sterling's also getting up there in age, man. He's in his mid-30s now. And that 35 curse, please let it hit Sterling, because I am hoping for a finish. Not that I even care for Movsar Evloev either. Like, both of these guys should remain on the prelims for the remainder of their career unless they decide to, number one, fight more often, and number two, become more entertaining and be willing to actually get into a fucking dogfight. But anyway, yeah, Movsar Evloev, clean sweep, 30-27. Then we get into Vicente Luque versus Themba Gorimbo. Now, this is based purely on my love for Vicente Luque, and I'm picking him. I know it makes 0 sense, right? It does make 0 sense, but watch Themba Gorimbo. Do you rate Themba Gorimbo? Do you really rate this man? In my opinion, he has some awful striking, some of the worst striking at welterweight. Vicente Luque has a massive advantage on the feet. Of course, if Themba Gorimbo gets him down, he'll probably grind him out, but I'm gonna back Vicente Luque to get it done on the feet here. I'm going to say first round TKO. I want him to shock the world. I know he had the brain hemorrhage, and there's no reason to ever pick Vicente Luque to win a fight ever again. I get it. But I will brainlessly put my faith in Vicente Luque every single time, and I just don't think that Themba Gorimbo has a lot to offer. I think he's actually he's being put through a massive step up right now in competition, and anyone writing off Vicente Luque, like, I get it. I do get it, believe me. But you're going to be shocked, because Vicente Luque is going to come out here and show the difference. Like, it was just a few fights back where he won a 5-round decision against RDA, right? This is a huge step up for Gorimbo. And I think some people need to understand that. He doesn't possess much stopping power on the feet. I know we've seen him drop guys, KO guys, whatever, right? We've seen it before. But he's just a grappler with an overhand. That's all that Vicente Luque has to worry about. If you can keep it on the feet, I think he has way too much. Man, he's super technical. Vicente is very technical. He has great hands, great Muay Thai. He's going to break down Gorimbo, I think so, and get him done in the first round. I think he's going to get it done in the first round, man. I really do think so. I have a feeling here. Let me move on to Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Now, this one is so easy to pick. Dominic Reyes is the heavy favorite for a good reason. He's bigger. He hits way harder. And this is the beginning of a comeback title run for Dominic Reyes. The Dustin Jacoby, whatever his name is, fight was already the confirmation that Reyes is back. This is going to put the seal on it. He is going to just land a sharp left hand on the chin of Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is going to show weird body language, eventually go down and be TKO'd. It's a foregone conclusion. Reyes is so much better. Anthony Smith is honestly not very good. All he has is that crafty veteran type experience. Maybe he can pull something out the bag, but no. Dominic Reyes is coming back for blood, and he will make a title run. He will make a title run. Mark my words, and this fight will be the beginning of it. He is taking out Anthony Smith. Now we get to the main card, dude. This first fight on the main card is actually a banger, dude. Nate Landwehr versus Doo Ho Choi. I'm excited for this. This could be fight of the night. In fact, I'm gonna predict this fight will be fight of the night. And fights like this are exactly why I haven't ranked the best fights of 2024 quite yet, because this fight right here on paper has all the potential in the world to make it on a list like that. And this might be a bit controversial, but I'm picking the underdog here. I'm picking Doo Ho Choi. I love the Korean Superboy. Like, he looks like he's in a K-pop boy band, but he throws hammers. He throws heat in those hands, has nasty boxing. I think he's too clean. He's too technical and too precise with his striking for Nate Landwehr. Landwehr is good. He's a grinder. He has good cardio. You know, he's tough as nails. But I think Doo Ho Choi is just better. I think he's just better. He hits harder. And I think he'll TKO Nate Landwehr. I'm going to say in the first round. Like, I don't want to see it happen because I love Nate Landwehr. But I'm going to pick Doo Ho Choi by first round TKO. Although, for the sake of this fight being a banger, I hope it goes all the way and we go to decision on this. Because if this fight does make it to decision, then we're in for one of the fights of the year, in my opinion. But I do think Doo Ho Choi is too good on the feet, too clean for Nate Landwehr. But if I'm surprised or if I'm proven wrong, that's fine, dude, because I love Nate Landwehr as well. The dude's an absolute fucking marauder. And then we get into a fight that should honestly be on the early prelims. What is this fight, dude? Gracie. What has he shown in his UFC career so far? In his pathetic UFC career thus far, to be on the main card of a mainline UFC event, UFC 310, right? The final pay-per-view of the year. In what world does Gracie deserve to be on this? He sucks. Yet another example of how disgustingly pathetic jiu-jitsu is as an MMA base. People like the Gracies, these absolute fraud Gracies, who think that because they can butt scoot on the ground and, they're so dangerous. They're so dangerous if you're in their guard. Who gives a shit, dude? Who gives a shit? I never understood the obsession with the Gracies or jiu-jitsu in general. As a base, it's so soft, man. All Gracie has in this fight is the ability to absorb a shot. We saw he's tough. Yeah, he has a pretty good chin. That's all he has, dude. He's never able to actually put his jiu-jitsu into practice. He's only on this card because of his name. Bryce Mitchell is a better overall grappler, and if this fight stays on the feet, Gracie will make Bryce Mitchell look like Edson Barbosa because he's that bad. Charles Jourdain looked like a world beater against him, and Charles Jourdain is pretty average, so that should prove it right there. Bryce Mitchell is going to be made to look like Edson Barbosa here. He's going to pick apart Gracie on the feet, and if it goes to the ground, I don't know if he'll submit him, but I just think it'll be a dominant performance from Bryce Mitchell. Just get him out of there and get him cut from the UFC. Gracie should be nowhere near an organization as elite as the UFC. Are you kidding me? He sucks. He shouldn't even be in the PFL. Get out of here, Gracie. You're shit. And then we get into Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. And you know what, dude? You know what? I'm picking the underdog, and I'm picking the guy who lost last time out. Ciryl Gane, I don't think he's as good as some people say. I know he was very dominant for a certain point in time. But ultimately, I think the improvements that Alexander Volkov has made recently and the activity of him as well is going to do him major favors. He's put on some muscle. The dude looks he looks insanely built now. He'll probably look bigger than Ciryl Gane in there, and he's actually displaying the ability to put damage on his opponents and actually finish his opponents now. So you know what, dude? I think Volkov is going to get this one done. I think he's going to get it back. I think he'll get this one back against Ciryl Gane. It'll be close, I believe. But this might be one of those fights where we see Ciryl Gane busted up a little bit on the feet by the end of it. And I'm going to say Volkov, I think he'll win 2 rounds here, 29-28 decision. Yeah, I'm pretty confident about this, man. Like, I understand he lost the first time out, but yeah, dude, the improvements he's made have been massive. Big boy. Yeah, dude. I'm very confident about Volkov here. I think he'll get it done. And then we get into the co-main event, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Garry. Now, reluctantly, I have to give some respect to Ian Garry. The fact that, he is a cuck, ultimately. He is a cuck. Absolutely terrible physique, all that. Awful tattoos as well. Just everything about the dude I really hate. I really just don't like him. But I have to give him respect for taking this fight. This is a very dangerous one for him. I think as long as he hangs in there with Shavkat and goes the distance, his stock doesn't drop too much. But I think I think Shavkat has way too much for Ian Garry. I think on the feet, all Ian can do is keep the fight pretty, right, from a distance, pick apart Shavkat with leg kicks, a jab, maybe a teep to the body. That's really all he can do to Shavkat. But Shavkat is a fucking marauder. He does not give a shit about damage. He walks forward like an animal, constant forward pressure, and looks to finish you. He is a berserker from Kazakhstan. Ian Machado Garry is a cuck from Ireland. They're not the same. They are not the same. And Rakhmonov is going to show it, I believe. And I'm going to say he finishes Ian Garry in the second round. I think he'll finish. I think he can get this fight done anywhere. I know some people like to compare the resumes of the two, say, they haven't really fought different opponents. Like, they both fought the same caliber of competition, but the difference is that Shavkat is finishing these guys while Ian Machado Garry is going the distance with them and having closely contested fights with MVP and Jeff Neal, right? Of course, when Rakhmonov fought Jeff Neal, it was a very closely fought match, and he even was stung by Jeff Neal in certain points of the fight, but Shavkat was actually standing in front of him and engaging in a war, as opposed to Ian Machado Garry, who fought off the back foot the entire time and made it a boring fucking snooze fest, right? Shavkat is a beast. He's a Chad. The way he fights, I respect the shit out of it, and I will never, ever pick against him because I love him, and he's exactly what we need at the top of the welterweight division. We need him as champ, and I believe that he will finish Ian Garry late second round, as I said. And then we move on to the main event, man, and this is kind of an exciting fight. It's actually very exciting for me. I'm very much looking forward to this one. I know the flyweight division is relatively stale, but Kai Asakura, he brings something fresh. He's a knockout artist, great knees, some of the best knees in the game right now. And I do think that when it comes to the idea of him knocking out Pantoja, I think he'll have to get it done with some kind of a knee up the middle, catch Pantoja, ducking his head down. Otherwise, I'm not too sure if he has much more to offer than the rest of the flyweights, right? He is coming down from 135, so maybe he has more power in his hands, and he is a powerful striker. He's a great striker. He's a great MMA fighter. I actually really rate Kai Asakura. I have watched his fights in Ryzen, and he's super elite, man. Great on the feet, and he poses a unique threat to Pantoja 100%, but I'm just not actually convinced that he has anything that Pantoja hasn't seen before. We've seen Pantoja pretty much drop his hands, show no regard for his own safety, walk through the fire just to get the body lock and choke his opponents out easily, right? And in a 5-round fight, you don't want to be in there for 25 minutes with Pantoja, because the longer it takes you to finish him, the slower you get, yet somehow the more powerful Pantoja gets, right? He's not the greatest striker in the world, Pantoja. He's a bit sloppy, right? His punches come from fucking grandma's house. Everything comes from grandma's house. He loads up on everything, and that's why I love Pantoja. He fights like someone with something to prove. He fights like someone with an absent father, with a chip on his shoulder, and that's why I can never pick against Alexander Pantoja. I don't think anyone can beat him. The only 125er we've ever seen even put Pantoja in a remote amount of genuine danger was Figueiredo, because Figueiredo was actually able to drop him. Does Kai Asakura have that same power that someone like a Figgy does? I'm not too sure he does, but he's sharp, right? He's sharp, he's quick, and he's able to find those shots, right? Kai Asakura is super high level. He's super high level. But Pantoja, I think, is too much of a marauder. I think he's going to maraud forward, and I believe by the 4th round, Kai Asakura will be gassed out enough. He'll probably piece up Pantoja up to that point, right? Put him in great danger, right? May even make him look like the way Steve fucking Erceg made him look. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter, because Pantoja will get him to the ground, and I believe will display the difference between the two of them in the grappling department, and finish Kai Asakura in the 4th round. Maybe, just maybe Kai Asakura can get it done, but the only way I see Kai winning is by finish. He has to KO Pantoja, and I believe he has to do it in the first couple of rounds. Otherwise, it's going to be a long night for Kai Asakura. And if Pantoja doesn't finish him, I think he'll, at the very minimum, win rounds 3, 4, and 5 relatively convincingly. And he has underrated power too, right? Like everyone's so worried about the grappling threat of Pantoja that they forget that those punches that come from Grandma's house have a lot of pop on them, a lot of sting. And I think he can even hurt Kai Asakura because Kai will have a lot to worry about on the ground. Although I do worry a little bit with the way that Pantoja enters into range with those dangerous knees of Kai Asakura. I could see something happening there. But nah, I'm sticking to my 4th round submission prediction for Alexander Pantoja. And I think eventually he'll go on to be the greatest flyweight of all time. And all you haters of Pantoja, how are you grouping him in the same box with boring fighters, right? Like fucking boring fighters like Leon. Are you kidding me? You have the gall to compare Pantoja to any boring fighter. This dude has no regard for his own safety, right? He just goes in there, walks forward, bang, boom, gets the job done, walks out, humble man, family man. We should be celebrating a man like Pantoja being champion, but all you weird cucks want colorful hair weirdos like Sean O'Malley is champion. I don't really get it. Pantoja's a stand-up guy. We should be celebrating him as the flyweight champion. He's going to hold onto that belt, but Kai Asakura is going to prove that he belongs in the UFC, and I think all of his fights going forward will be exciting. Look forward to him being on the roster and what he can prove as his UFC career goes on, but I don't think this is his time yet. I don't think this is his time. I think he's been thrown into the deep end. Pantoja is going to prove that and get it done, man. And those are my predictions. Those are my picks for UFC 310. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. If you agree, you disagree, whatever your thoughts are, just let me know, man. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.